So let's talk for a minute about what VoltKey is. But before I start going on to explain what VoltKey is, let's talk about what a normal wireless network is. So in your house, you probably have one of these. This is a wireless access point. And the wireless access point usually broadcasts a network name. Technical jargon, we call that an SSID. This is the name of the network that you're going to connect to when you connect to your Wi-Fi access point. And typically, next an SSID also has a password. Okay, so if you want to connect to this SSID, you need your network name and you need the password. So let's say you have your phone, you have your access point, and you want to connect, right? So all you got to do is you open up your phone, you go to the settings page, you type in the SSID and password, and bam, you're connected. This is how we normally use our wireless network. Okay. So let's say your buddy comes over. Okay, you guys are gonna have a barbecue, and you have some friends over, and your friends need to have access to your Wi-Fi access point. So for everybody who's there, now you have to tell them what your SSID is, and they have to type in the password. Okay? And so everybody has a common network name and a common password. So every time you add a new device to this network, now you have to somehow distribute this password information. Okay? So it's not too hard on a phone, but let's say you want to add a new IoT device like an IP camera or a smart thermostat or something like that. I'm sure a lot of people have had the pain of adding new IoT devices. You know, even a wireless printer can be finicky to manage because the user interfaces are usually pretty basic, and so programming that SSID and password in can be pretty painful. Okay. So really, with these Wi-Fi networks, there's kind of three problems out there that we have with them, right? The first problem is that it's hard to distribute the password. Okay, every device has a different interface for doing it, and every device has a slightly different method to set up. Okay, the second problem is that once the password is out there, it's hard to revoke access, right? Every single device shares the same network name and the same password. So if we want to revoke access to one or two of those devices, then we have to change the password for everybody, and that means we have to go back into every single other device on that network and manually change the password. Okay? And the third problem is that all the traffic on that network is snoopable by everybody, right? Since they all share this common password, if I'm a bad guy on the Wi-Fi network, I can decode everybody else's traffic, right? So in that sense, it's not really secure. Okay, and tends to be more of a problem inside small businesses, think like banks, Starbucks, stuff like that, where you have people coming and going all the time, and you don't necessarily know who's there and who should be allowed to see everything. Okay, so now that we understand how Wi-Fi works, we can talk a little bit more about what VoltKey does. Okay, so you probably don't think about too much, but all around your house, you have all these 120 volt outlets everywhere, right? And you plug all your stuff in there, your microwave, your TV, your fridge, everything gets plugged in to these 120 volt outlets. And it turns out that in addition to the power signal that they have on them, there's also some noise buried in there too, okay? And two outlets that are nearby each other, right? So if they're in the same room, they're going to have correlated noise or similar noise, right? And outlets that are far away from each other are going to have dissimilar noise. So your next door neighbor's outlets are going to have different noise than the outlets in your house, right? And so the big idea behind VoltKey is that we can take this correlated noise and we can actually convert it into a bit sequence, okay? So a sequence of ones and zeros. And that sequence of ones and zeros can then be used as a key that we can use to authenticate ourselves, any device. Okay, so in general, you can use this bit sequence in place of a password anywhere. Okay, so anywhere you would use a password, you can use this bit sequence generated by VoltKey. But in this example, I'm just going to talk about how we can use it to authenticate to a Wi-Fi access point. So we have a plug here, and the plug has some noise on it. And so what we're going to do is we're gonna plug in our VoltKey device into this plug. Okay? The VoltKey device looks like, kind of feels like any kind of a regular USB power supply that you would normally use to power your phone, but it has this extra feature that it can measure that noise that comes on the voltage plug, okay? And it can use that noise and it can generate a key from it. It can generate this sequence of ones and zeros, okay? So, all right, so we got the VoltKey device plugged in, and it's measuring the noise. And so now we're going to plug in our Wi-Fi access point to that VoltKey device, and we're going to use the VoltKey device to power our Wi-Fi access point. Okay, And so what's going to happen is the access point is going to send a message through the USB cable that connects to the wall outlet, right? And it's going to request a key, okay? The VoltKey device is then going to receive that message. It's going to measure the noise that's on the voltage outlet there, and it's going to generate a unique key from that voltage noise. It's going to hand that key off over the USB cable up to the access point, okay? And so any other device that's in the same room at the same time, or if it's in the same house at the same time, uh, will also be able to measure the same noise, okay? And it'll be able to generate the same key, and it will be able to authenticate to the Wi-Fi access point using that key. So another important feature about the way VoltKey distributes keys is that every device that's connected to the access point gets its own SSID and its own unique password. Okay, so if you have 15 different devices in your house, you have a phone, you have a computer, you have a tablet, all these different devices in your house, every single device is joined to a unique network name, and every single device has its own unique password, and that password can be refreshed periodically throughout the day. So if we want to revoke access to an individual device in the house, the only thing we have to do is delete the network that that device uses to authenticate to the network. So from a user's perspective, there's no need to distribute a key, okay? Because the key is actually coming from the noise that's embedded on the wall at a particular instant in time, okay? And so there's no problem with the key distribution. So the first problem that we had with Wi-Fi networks is solved. It's not hard to distribute the passwords because in order to distribute a password, all you have to do is plug your device into the wall, right? It's very simple to distribute a password. Also, it's really easy to revoke access, right? Because the key is generated by this noise that's unique to a particular place within the building at a particular time, right? And so if I want to revoke access to a device, all I have to do is invalidate the key that that device uses to connect, and nobody else will be invalidated because every other device that's joined to this Wi-Fi network has a different key, okay? And then because every other device that's associated with the Wi-Fi network has a unique key, there's no possibility that different users can snoop traffic on the Wi-Fi network because everybody has a unique key. Okay, and so user one cannot decode any of the traffic that's being transmitted by user two.